Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Here's a story about how a quick trip to the store turned into a showdown with an entitled Karen who thought she had the right to question someone else's need for a handicapped parking spot. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Entitled Karen wants my parking spot. So a few decades ago, I went from 70 to 0 too fast one night and ended up in the hospital with a pen in my teeth, signing a form on a clipboard held over my head that they could cut off both ends of my hands and my right leg because they were all so mangled that there was less than a 50% chance of them being saved. 18 hours of surgery and I woke up with everything I went in there with, and a few extra metal parts to boot. But it took years and a couple of dedicated physical therapists, whom I lovingly refer to as Helga and Ursula, the bee goddesses, for me to be able to walk and use my reconstructed hands. I've had 4 follow-up surgeries since then, and I can now walk without a limp, but it's still difficult to walk very far without pain, so I have a handicap placard on my car. I found out real quick that there's an attitude among handicap placard owners. They all seem to think that they're more deserving than you of the spot that you just parked in. That plus FedEx drivers use them indiscriminately. My first experience with FedEx was when I went to get my name registered on the sewer and water utilities for the house we just moved to. There was only one handicap spot and a FedEx delivery truck was parked in it, so I parked sideways and blocked him in, then hobbled my way into the building with my cane. I was still in physical therapy then. About 5 minutes later, I see the FedEx guy come up. FedEx guy, who owns the silver Infinity outside? Me. That'd be me? FedEx guy, you're blocking me in. Me. You parked in the handicap spot. FedEx guy, I was only going to be there for a few minutes. Me. Well, now you're going to be there until I finish my business here. FedEx guy, you can't do that. Me. We can call the sheriff and see which one of us gets a ticket. But the entitled B portion of the story happened a few years later. By then, I was able to walk without my cane, and I had encountered more than one of these, so I knew what was about to happen, and I'd prepared my response ahead of time. I'd just parked and gotten out of my car and was walking into Wally World when I see the Cadillac moving slowly by with the window rolling down and Karen about to lay out her case on why she deserved my spot and I didn't. Karen, what's your problem? Me, excuse me? Karen, you don't look like you're handicapped. Me, thank you, I've worked really hard to be able to walk without a limp. Karen, I don't think you're really handicapped. Me, you could have stopped talking after the first 3 words of that sentence and been entirely correct. Karen, so what's wrong with you? Me, if you must know, I lost my foot in an accident. Karen, really? How'd that happen? Me, I broke it off in some nosy Karen's butt. I know it's not the point of the story, but I'm amazed by the ability of the human body to heal itself. You must have worked your butt off. And our second story. You want me to do something else while I'm waiting? Okay. At my most recent former employer, a home improvement store in the vein of Lowe's or Home Depot, I worked in receiving, mostly unloading trucks with a forklift. About 2 years into my time there, we got a new assistant store manager. Let's call him Gary. This guy came in and thought that not only did his crap not stink, but that we should all eat as much of it as possible. Micromanaging, changing SOP, etc. Everything he said was right. So one day a truck's in the process of backing down the ramp to our receiving docks, but there's a problem with the brakes and the wheels are just dragging. Since my job at that moment is wait until the truck comes in and unload it once it does, there's literally nothing I can really do apart from give the dude good vibes from my seat. To be clear, the problem was not any failing on the driver's part, just bad luck with the hoses. At this time of day, we have 2 people on the clock in receiving. Me on one forklift waiting for the truck and my department manager on another helping out in the outside yard because 2 propane forklifts were disabled and they had 2 lumber trucks show up at the same time. We only had 2 electric forks and they were the only ones that could be inside the building. Redacted to protect those with no sense of humor. So basically, I'm literally all alone on the only available forklift that can unload the truck, which is fine because that's my effing jam. At the same time, we only had 1 dock of 3 available for live loads because one already had an unhooked trailer and the other was broken. So while we're understaffed and short equipment and while the driver's trying to un-F his truck, Gary walks into receiving with 2 other department managers and sees me sitting on the forklift, basically just twiddling my thumbs as I watch the driver. I can understand how it might look like I'm effing off, since I kind of am, but not really. "Why are you just sitting there?" Gary asks me. "Waiting for the truck to back up," I say. He says, "While you're waiting, you can do other things." I look out the dock door and see the driver come out from between the truck and trailer and get back into the cab, so I say, "But he's almost got it. He'll be docked in like a minute. And in that minute, you can do other things." I've had more than my share of crappy leaders in my life, and I can tell by Gary's tone and body language that nothing is going to shake him from this attitude, so I just say, "You got it. What should I do while I wait?" Gary says, "Go outside and help load one of the lumber trucks." I say, "For how long?" Sounding annoyed, he waves his hands in a shooing motion and says, "For as long as it takes. Now go." Then he walks away. The 2 department managers look at each other, look at me, smile, and follow after him. They know what's about to happen. "Hey, buddy, you got it. I'm absolutely going to do this for you." So I spin the forklift around and zip out through the big overhead door into the outside yard to help with the lumber trucks. As I do this, I hear the trailer back into the dock. But that doesn't matter because Gary gave me a mission. I make it to where the lumber trucks are parked in the yard, and my department manager drives over next to me. He says, "Why are you out here? Isn't the truck docking?" I nod. Gary told me I needed to be out here helping while I wait. He was very insistent. I slowly emphasize the last 2 words. My manager just smiles, turns around, and continues to unload. I start helping, a stack of studs here, a bundle of trusses there, and I'm doing my part to empty these flatbeds of wood. While this is happening, I hear the gate attendant for the outside yard radio that we have another truck waiting to come in. I radio back that it's going to have to wait until the other truck is gone. Then another truck shows up and another. In the 20 minutes I've been outside, 4 trucks besides the one that's now in the dock have arrived to be unloaded in our single dock, and every time I tell the gate that they have to wait. At this point, the general store manager, Mike, finally hears what's happening over the radio and cuts in, "Hey, what's going on? Are we not unloading the truck and receiving?" I radio back and say, "I'll be there in just a second. I put the load I've got on my tines where it needs to go and haul butt back to receiving." As I drive into the bay, Mike and Gary are both standing there with the driver next to them. I zip up to them and hold my hand out for the driver's paperwork. He hands it to me as Gary says, "What the hell's taking you so long? Why haven't you started unloading yet?" "You told me to go help on the lumber trucks while I wait," I say. Gary sputters and says, "I meant until this truck was in the dock." I look at Mike and then back to Gary. "I asked you for how long, and you said for as long as it takes." I didn't say that. I look at him, and he looks at me like he's daring me, and I like taking dares. I name the 2 department managers who were with him when he told me, and I say, "We all heard you say it. You were very clear." His face turns the color of an apple, and not like a Fuji or Gala, but a red effing delicious. He opens his mouth, but Mike puts a hand on his arm and stops him. Mike looks at me and says, "Get it sorted fast, okay?" I nod and get started as Mike walks away with Gary fuming beside him. Now, I didn't hear their conversation because I was kicking butt and taking names on my forklift, but word got back to me that Mike told Gary he would never again be allowed to question anything anyone in receiving does, and especially me when it comes to unloading trucks. If I'm on a forklift, I'm basically untouchable. And over the next year that Gary was with us, he abided by that directive, though he did feel entitled to shoot me a dirty glance or 20 every so often. Not that I cared, because I had trucks to unload. Good old Gary, trying to ensure your employer was getting their money's worth by improving the efficiency of those he's in charge of. It's too bad he found his level of incompetence so early in his career. He could have gone far. And our next story. Extra, extra caramel. I was at a coffee shop, and yesterday was one I will forever be grateful to my manager for. A customer came through ordering a blended beverage. Said beverage was modified to the point of being not even remotely what the original drink was. Can I also prefer this by saying the drink was ordered at drive with a child screaming into the headphones the whole time, and customer did nothing to calm child, just spoke louder? So when customer drives up, the drink with multiple modifications was missing one. It was a topping that was easily added on top, but customer wanted the whole drink remade. Why, I asked, as we had a line and I had more drinks to get to. The answer was it didn't have enough caramel drizzle. Now the drink doesn't come with caramel drizzle. It was ordered with extra caramel, and I did put a ton on the top as well as put caramel around the cup, which is already extra. I was told they wanted extra, so I coated the inside of the new cup. The caramel was so thick you couldn't see the drink. I also added a 1/4 inch to the bottom just in case, and added extra of the other toppings requested and gave half container of it on the side per my manager's instructions. Now this was my third to final drink I made because it was my day off and I came in to help, and the time I agreed to stay to was past, and the second time I agreed to stay to was also past. I was doing one last task of wiping down the cafe and clocking out. In comes customer. Customer is so angry because customer said they didn't deserve to have an employee get mad and fill their cup with half syrup. Manager tells them, well, what did you want? You got extra caramel, it wasn't enough. You get extra, and it was too much. You're going to have to explain what you're wanting. Love my manager. I hope you were paid well for the extra time you spent at work and getting abused by some jerk who was just being a jerk. And our last story. My parents got police called on them for using their own parking spot. My parents own a bar that extends on the first floor of a 4-story flat. There's a parking space annexed to the bar. It's covered by a roof, but not closed, so anyone can put their car there. Physically, not because we allow it. The parking spot belongs to my parents by contract. It came with the bar when they bought it. We park our car there, and because we live in a residential neighborhood, every other parking spot belongs to someone, so we can't just put it somewhere else. One day, my parents noticed that another car, belonging to a woman living in the flat above, starts parking her car in our spot, a few meters away from the flat entrance. They don't mind it the first few times, but when it seems that the woman is using the space full time, they decided to confront her. Dad nicely tells her that she can't use our private parking space, to which she responds along the lines of, Karen, but I should use it because I need it more. It's raining season, and when I run to my car in the morning, the rain ruins my makeup. Her parking space was 20 meters away from the flat. Dad, don't care. You can't park in my parking space. Karen, you know what? I don't even believe that space is yours. Next time I see you parking there, I'm calling the cops on you. And she actually did. My dad had to show them the paper that proves the parking spot belongs to us while she was standing there, arms crossed and everything. When they cleared us, she just turned pale and went home, unpunished. My parents let her go because in the end, they did win the dispute. She was new to the neighborhood, so she tried, even though we've been parking there for over 15 years when that happened. So she could have asked anyone, and we could have avoided the whole thing. But she's not the first to claim something that belongs to us. Because the bar is basically in the flat, some tenants tend to believe that if it's in the flat, it belongs to them, even if we have contracts for everything. The basement underneath the flat is also ours, and the tenants tried to make a petition or something to get it back, of course for free. This lady's an a-hole. If I were your parents, I'd put up signs that say, parking for bar owner only, violators will be towed, and if people ignore it, call a tow truck. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.